Hello and welcome to our podcast, The Audacity of Adulting. I'm your host, Jaira.
And I'm your host, Lynn.
And today we have a special guest, Nancy.
Hi, everybody.
And today we'll be talking about how our parents raise us and how we will or will not raise our children.
And this is part 2 of our Toxic Asian Culture series.
Yeah, so Nancy, explain a little bit about yourself and how we know you.
So, basically, I'm dating her brother, Jaira. We've been together for 5 years. I was born in California, but grew up mainly in Washington State. I'm a CNA and also an aspiring makeup artist/artist.
And we'll link all her stuff and social medias down below.
Also, I'm Vietnamese American.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, we're excited to do this episode with her so she can share her perspective as well. Obviously, Jaira and I grew up not in the same household, but in the same kind of family, culture and mindset. So it's nice to get somebody else to speak about how they were raised. And as always, we always sip on something good on our podcast. And today we have bought bubble teas. I have a strawberry ice cream bubble tea with mango stars.
I have a mango ice cream slush with pearls.
And I have a taro slush with pearls as well.
1, 2, 3.
Pop, pop.
I love mine. It literally tastes like strawberry ice cream blended.
Yeah, taro is the OG bubble tea.
It's so creamy.
If you have any drink recommendations for us, make sure to leave it in the comments below, either on YouTube, on any of our Instagram posts, or even DM us on any social media platform. We actually ordered food with our bubble tea, so we're going to be taking a break. So the next time, if you're on YouTube, you're watching this, our bubble tea will lessen. But we'll catch you guys in a sec.
We'll be back.
So today we're going to be talking about expectations of Asian kids and the pressures of following them. Of course, every culture has different ways of raising their kids or different cultures, so just take this with a grain of salt. But I'm speaking in terms of like my Filipino immigrant parents. Nancy will be speaking on her upbringing with her Viet parents, and then Jaira's going to be speaking obviously on her Filipino parents as well. And basically what we want to do is we want to talk about 3 different expectations that impacted us the most.
Growing up.
Yeah, growing up. And then what we want to do with our kids moving forward, what we don't want to do, and just chat about like why it impacted us that much. So I guess I'll start with mine. So for me, I felt like growing up, and I know that certain like groups of friends that I had growing up also felt this way because it is a hot topic till this day, but I felt like Asian kids or Filipino kids are seen and treated as an investment/reward. And a good example of that would probably be having your parents live with you after you're like done school, or you just have like a full-time working job and your parents are old. And I find it to be so much pressure. So when I was growing up, I felt like my parents would always bring up the fact that, it's going to be like payback time as soon as you grow up. Like, when you're 18, you can do what you want, and then, we're going to live with you so you can take care of us. And for me, it was like the biggest pressure ever. Because not only was I growing up and going to college and working, saving my own money for my own life, but at the same time, I kept having to think about them in the back of my mind. It's like, all the house prices in where I live or like the lower mainland is just so much money. But like, how can I get a house that can fit all of us comfortably? Like, are we going to live in a shoebox? Are we going to have just like 2 bedrooms? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it stressed me out more. And I kept having to think, like, how can I make money? Where can I live? If I did want to live outside the city, would I have to take them with me? And stuff like that. And I felt like everything I did, I'd have to pay it back somehow. And for me, it just felt like straight up manipulation. And also, I do love my parents very dearly. So I also thought, they do deserve to be taken care of after the struggle they've been through, growing up. So it was just such a big impact on me growing up because I kept having to think about my own future and then also insert other people in it. So, as we know, being an adult and going through the motions is already so stressful. And then when you have to bring in more people into your decision making, it's just a lot. I don't know. It's just a lot to think about, especially when you're like in your early 20s. And for me, I always did things in a linear way where, I went to high school, college, married my high school sweetheart. Now we're married, living together. We're about to buy a home and potentially have kids in the near future. So it's just been a lot. And I think about it moving forward and think about how I wouldn't want to instill this in anybody just because it just felt like a lot of pressure. And, sometimes I honestly would break down because it just felt like too much. Like I was taking on too much. I was trying to navigate my own life as stressful as it was. And then I had to bring in everyone else to my decision. So that's probably the most old-fashioned / traditional expectation that impacted me the most.
All right, so what impacted me the most? Mine was also stressful, but I grew up in a different situation. Very strict, and there's basically no room for mistakes. Mainly, my dad wanted, more broadly to say that he wanted us to be successful. He wanted us to be really smart. Also with my mom, having her family being like, they had like different careers. My grandpa was a dentist. My grandma was like a teacher. She was in the medical field as well. And she wanted that same expectation for us. And I felt like it was just really stressful because we were forced into something that made us feel not motivated as much as I believe. I wasn't as motivated because I wasn't the smarter one of my siblings, so I was more academic focused. It was like more instilled. And growing up now, because since my parents are divorced, I don't have my dad's expectations, but I have more of my mom's expectations where she wants us just to be successful in general because she didn't have that for herself. And I feel like I have more room to do what I want right now.
For me, growing up, I'm the eldest to my brother. I have a younger brother, Jaira. And the one expectation that I had growing up was, since I'm the eldest and the girl, I should be the woman of the house. I should be the one cleaning. I should learn how to cook and all that traditional stuff. And it was just like a lot of pressure to always hear that. And it wasn't really instilled in Jaira as much because he had more freedom and they didn't really care what he did. And it's just always me being the one like, oh, why didn't you clean the house? Why didn't you do this? Like what you're supposed to do at home and be
like
the wife stuff.
Domestic,
Yeah.
So that was one of my expectations. And I mean, till this day, I don't really clean as much. But I mean, since that was instilled and like forced, it made me not want to, almost.
I get that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's like the more that, I mean, like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, whenever somebody tells you to do something, I want to do the exact opposite. I want to run away. And like, it doesn't matter if like their idea makes sense, but it's like because somebody's like forcing it down my throat or like pressuring me, it's like,
You want to go the other
yeah,
direction.
who are you to tell me what to do? I'm going to do the other thing, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what our parents had growing up too. Like you were talking about your grandparents in a way. So I'm sure like your grandparents kind of put that into your parents or like your dad or mom. And that's the same thing with our parents where like it was instilled, like it goes from generation.
Yeah.
Right. And like it's a very hard thing to break. But I think moving forward, like it's good that we're aware of these things so that we can kind of put a stop to it or at least tailor the way that we want to raise our kids because like for me, I felt like it was straight up manipulation at some points, right? I don't know. I just felt like I think that when you become a parent, especially, I mean, I'm not a parent yet, but you know, you become a parent to like raise tiny humans,
Yeah.
for the most part, right? You raise tiny humans to the best that you can. And hopefully, when they're all grown up, they start to make their own decisions and can make a path for themselves. But I feel like if your parenting style is very focused on making them do the right thing, like who's to say that your right thing is the right thing for them?
Yeah, you have to guide them and teach them along the way of like rather than telling them what to do.
And I think, yeah, everybody's different too, right? It's like I said, like your right thing is not my right thing. Nancy's not right thing is not my right thing.
I feel like if I ever have kids, well, obviously I want kids in the future. I want them to have as much freedom as they want, but also I want them to be successful in their own way in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because success means different things, right, to different people. As always, some people value money more, some people value experience or whatever. So it really depends. Yeah, for me, in terms of like how I felt that being seen as an investment or reward really impacted me, I just want what I just want to raise my kids for them to make their own decisions. Like I want them to find their own path and discover like what they like and what they want to do. And if it takes a long time, then that's fine. It takes a long time. But I never want to force them into like, you know, let's say like going to school because they need to make money right away because they need to look after me or whatever when I'm older. Like I want them to stop and think and experience new things. And if it's something they don't want, it makes them happy, I don't want them to continue it. Like I feel like so many people also like finish college or like keep going with college because they think like that's the right thing to do. Like I have to finish this course because I've already invested my time into it. But it's like if it doesn't make you happy, then you know, rethink your decision. Think about your next steps and, you know, see what works for you and what makes you happy. And you don't need to think about anybody else but yourself at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, I kept thinking about like my parents and like my future and like buying a home and like having to pay them back.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm an only child, so like, where else are my parents gonna go? At least with you guys, it's more of a discussion. For me,
Yeah.
it's like there was no discussion. It was only me that heard it.
Since you're the only child too. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what moving forward with like being pressured with how I was, like I'm the woman of the house. The only thing I'd want or to take away from that is just to raise my kids to be able to fend for themselves and like, you know, of course do the common household things, clean the house, but not like force them. Or if I were to have like a girl and a boy, I'd want them to be equal, like be able to, you clean the house, you clean the house, like
Yeah.
do things
Those
equally.
are human, basic human skills.
Yeah, but the way that it was just forced, I don't want to do that with my kids. I'd probably just do it with them rather than be like telling them clean your room, blah, blah, and like making them feel bad about it.
Yeah, I mean it's reverse psychology. If we do the same things and we make our kids do certain things, they're not gonna want to do anything that we tell them to
Yeah.
do. So
I just like how I know a lot of Asian households don't do this. It's more like as I perceived in like American households because we're from America, they have like these lists of chores that each kid would rotate, and I really like that because
Yeah.
each kid can do
Equality.
something
yeah,
instead of like, oh, because you're a girl you need to do this, but you're a guy you don't really have to do anything. And I see that a lot in my parents where gender stereotypes is really strong on them, like a girl's supposed to do this and a boy, he's the man of the house,
He'll work.
he'll work for it but he doesn't have to do anything else.
oh, I hate that.
Yeah.
Also, adding on to what your guy was saying, like with my kids, I regret not doing extracurricular activities and things because my parents didn't want me to do that because I was in a strict household. I really want my kids to have as much creativity, freedom as they want, doing like extracurricular stuff, whatever they feel like it's them.
I actually see that or like, no, I understand because I was actually the person who did a lot of extracurriculars. Like I've never been a book smart student or like an academic student.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that my parents never instilled it on me, and I did a lot of extracurriculars. So I totally understand, and I 100% believe in that. I think kids should explore what they like, test things out. You know, you can ask them, instead of forcing them to do like soccer every single year, every single season, you can ask them like, oh, you know, what sport do you want to do this year? Or like, what lessons do you want to try this year? And then, you know, if they want to do guitar for 1 year, and then they're over it and they want to do piano the next year, then it's fine, right? Because at least they get to explore exactly
What they want.
or like be at least on the right path to finding it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching if you're on YouTube, and if you're listening to Spotify and Anchor, thank you. You can follow us on all our social medias down below. We'll link that as well as Nancy's stuff. And stay tuned for the next episode. This was really fun getting to have a guest.
Thank you, Nancy, for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate your insight.
I want to thank you guys for having me on here. It was really fun. I really like talking about this kind of stuff. Gossip.
We love gossip.
The spicy gossip.
But yeah, it was fun. So thank you, and stay tuned for the next episode.
Let us know what drinks you want us to try.
Cheers to instilling new values to the next generation.
Cheers
For the better.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Bye, guys. Follow
See ya.
Nancy. She's so talented.
Yeah.